The film starts at an apartment in Kensington, England, as a car arrives to pick up a family who will be traveling on a holiday trip. They leave behind their pet mouse, Roddy, after their little girl, Tabitha, feeds him with a good amount of food for the stay. After his owners leave, Roddy comes out to play, being super excited to have the house all for himself now. Later that night, Roddy meets a sewer rat named Sid, who just came out of the sink after he got carried by the drainage while in a pub. Sid is really fascinated by the elegant house and its amazing food, and he even decides to stay and watch the coming World Cup final at the huge TV. However, Roddy isn't amused by the idea and plans to make Sid leave, but he refuses and says the place is his now. Roddy then asks him to first try out the jacuzzi, which is actually a toilet. However, Sid knows it's a toilet, and he pushes Roddy in it and flushes him down the drain. Roddy takes a rough journey through the pipes and eventually ends up in a strange city, resembling London, which is run by rats. He meets a rat who prophesizes about the coming Great Flood, which is the floodgates surrounding them bursting out. Roddy explains to an officer that he lives on the surface world with humans who like him, but the cop doesn't believe and leaves and says he will be watching him. A nearby pirate overhears Roddy talking about the top world and sends him to another pirate who might help him. There, Roddy meets Captain Rita Skipper, who is hiding from some rats trying to kill her in her boat, the Jammy Dodger. The rats capture Rita, and one of them, named Spike, asks her to return a ruby she stole from their boss, but she refuses to tell them where it is and says Roddy stole it. However, Roddy points he and Ruby out of her pocket and they take it along with him. Spike and Whitey then take the two to their boss, who is a toad, and Rita claims the jewel originally belongs to her father. Roddy claims he found the ruby and asks for some help getting back home. At first, Toad refuses, but after hearing Roddy mention he is from Kensington, the royal borough, he gets excited and shows him his collection of precious things, calling him a man of quality. Toad then captures Roddy and Rita and plans to ice them in the fridge, where he keeps his other enemies. However, the two manage to escape from the fridge and Rita steals the ruby again before they escape to the outside. Rita also managed to steal a unique electric cable from the floodgate system, which she places as her belt, and she attempts to leave without Roddy. Spike and Whitey follow Roddy through town as he traces Rita. As Rita is escaping on her ship, Roddy jumps into it and gets a hold of the ruby. Roddy then notes that the ruby is fake and made of glass, but Rita disagrees. Roddy then breaks the ruby and claims real rubies can't break like that, which angers Rita, and she attacks him. Rita claims that the ruby fell from the queen's crown, and she and her dad found it after working in the drains for years, and she wished to use the chance to change her life. Rita is really disappointed that the ruby turned out to be a fake, and Roddy claims he can repay her with genuine rubies and diamonds from her home if she gets him back there, which she agrees to. Meanwhile, the Toad appears to really despise rats, and he plans to get rid of them all. Whitey and Spike show the Toad some pieces of the crushed jewel, but he reveals he only wanted the master cable that Rita stole, which controls the floodgate system, to continue with his plan. He then sends them to get the cable and asks them to return on time with it before the World Cup final. Later, Rita takes Roddy to her family home, where she reunites with her joyous family members, who welcome Roddy in for dinner. Rita asks her father for his maps to get up top, and he goes with her to discuss in the kitchen while Roddy sings for the family. Father says it's impossible and they don't need the money. Roddy overhears the conversation and thinks they plan to double-cross him, so he sails away with Rita's ship. However, Rita later catches up to him and clears up the misunderstanding. Roddy tells Rita that he thinks she is lucky to have her family, and he asks for a job to help her around, like her engineer or navigator. Just then, Spike and his men find the two and begin to chase after them. They manage to escape, and the Toad is furious at the incompetence of his men. Therefore, he sends for his French cousin, Le Frog, and asks him to fetch the floodgate master cable from Rita so he could complete his plan of flushing away the rats once and for all. Toad recalls from his book of memoirs how he was once the most loved pet of Prince Charles until he got replaced by a rat, and he was cruelly plunged into the great whirlpool of despair. After hearing the sad case, Le Frog then calls in his henchmen, and he plans to leave right after dinner. While Rita and Roddy are sailing to Kensington, the French assassins intercept them and demand she return the master cable. As the ship is falling through the rapids, LeFrog retrieves the cable from Rita and begins to mock the English rats with their fish and chips meals. However, Roddy and Rita use a plastic bag to lift themselves out of the drain, and they snatch the cable during the ascent. But they bid farewell to the ship Jammy Dodger, which sinks. The bag flies them out into Kensington, and they drop right into Roddy's apartment. There, Roddy hands Rita a genuine ruby and an emerald to replace her ship. Roddy then gives her a quick tour of the house as she hopes to meet his family. However, she is quick to notice that Roddy is usually locked up in a cage and really has no family around. They also meet Sid, who actually knows Rita and tells her that all Roddy has is some dolls and a wheel to run on in his cage. However, Roddy, who is lonely but proud, says he feels okay in the palace, since he can do all that he wants, and Rita heads back home. Later, as Sid and Roddy are watching the final, Roddy finally figures out that the Toad plans to use the cable to flush away the Rat City during halftime, and he immediately leaves with Sid. Meanwhile, while everyone is enjoying the game, the Toad's henchmen capture Rita and bring her to Toad, and he powers on the flood system using the master cable. Roddy then asks Sid to flush him in the toilet once again, and be good to Tabitha, the little girl of the house, once he is left there, and he happily agrees. Meanwhile, as the Rat Prophet is predicting once again that the Chosen One shall come down and be their savior from the Great Flood, Roddy flies in from the sewers and bumps into him. As the Toad opens up the floodgates, Roddy rescues Rita, but they are captured again. The Toad explains how he plans to later repopulate the city with tadpoles who are all waiting for the great dawn of the amphibians. Roddy and Rita manage to escape, but it's halftime and the toilets are flushing with the water flowing in. However, while the Toad is chasing them, Roddy comes up with a plan to burst the liquid nitrogen tube open, which in turn freezes the flowing water, preventing the disaster, and everyone rejoices. The crowd cheers on Roddy for saving the day, while he also traps the Toad's tongues. Rita and Roddy then build another ship, the Jammy Dodger Mark II, and they sail away in it alongside Rita's family, as the city bids them farewell. Later, a newspaper article reveals England had lost to Germany on penalties. As the film ends, during a happy dance, Roddy presses the red nitrous button, which sends the ship flying fast with its crew to an unknown destination. Later in the post-credits scene, as Sid is enjoying his new life, Roddy's former owner returns home with a new pet, a cat, which frightens Sid, and the enjoyable film comes to an end. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to our channel. I'll be back with another interesting movie recap. Until then, take care.